Now, the Roman Catholic churches in North Yorkshire are going to raise money, probably are raising money already, for a charity that really is fighting a scourge of the modern world. It's modern-day slavery. Yes, it does go on, and it goes on quite a surprising and terrifying level. The Diocese of Middlesbrough, which covers, of course, much of North Yorkshire, is going to run an Advent appeal for the charity Renata. Sister Imelda is in Rome at the moment for the second European Assembly of the charity, but I'm delighted to say that by the wonders of Skype, she can join us this morning. Good morning, Sister.
Good morning, Jonathan. Hi.
Nice to be speaking to you. What is happening at the Assembly over the next couple of days?
Okay, there are 133 members of the association coming together to look at our strategic plan and mandate for the next 5 years. But during that time also, we will be really focusing on the issues of today related to trafficking in human persons. So we have some very key speakers coming from across Europe.
Just explain this concept of modern-day slavery for those who haven't come across it and don't understand it. I mean, I heard some interviews the other day about women, largely women, who were brought to London to work as sort of household domestics for wealthy people coming to live in London, and the lives that they led with their passports confiscated, virtually no food given to them.
Yes.
That was quite astonishing. That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Indeed. I live in Albania, and I'm on mission in Albania. And in the UK today, compared to 3 years ago, the numbers of women and girls that are being trafficked across borders to the UK has tripled in numbers. And they're reckoning that 900 girls just from Albania will be rescued from trafficking, either in the sex tourist industry in the UK or in labour trafficking in salad farms, and even in car wash places. There are traffic victims being sold into slave labour in the UK as we speak.
Can you explain how this actually happens, how this comes about? Because maybe people listening to the programme will say, well, why do they put up with it? Why do they allow why do they allow themselves to be turned into modern-day slaves?
It's not really being allowed. You can imagine that all of the people that are trafficked, in our understanding from our shelters in Albania, they are all from very, very vulnerable and dysfunctional families from great poverty. So they're young boys, women, girls, children who are desperate to get out of a survival situation. And these traffickers go to where the people are most vulnerable, in poverty or in war situations or in points where people are in transit for refugee or asylum seeking. And these vulnerable people are wooed for girls, often into a marriage. They're called lover boys, the traffickers. They're promised marriage, a new life abroad. They're wooed maybe up to 2 years before they're trafficked. The girls really feel that they are loved and that there is going to be a stable marriage. The people that are trafficking for labour are often offering jobs on the internet. They're plying their trade with labour agencies, and then when the guys or the girls or the women get to the place of transit, they often have their passports taken from them. They're put in squalid, terrible situations of accommodation, not fed very much, and it's very difficult to get out of their trap because often they might even be an illegal immigrant.
So how does Renata break that cycle? Is it a question of stopping the trafficking in the first place so that someone doesn't find themselves becoming a slave, or have you got some technique of actually getting in there to the slavery situation and setting the person free that way?
First of all, I need to explain to the listeners that Renata is in 27 European countries. We're religious and co-workers working across border in Europe, networking against trafficking and exploitation. So most of our members are involved in 3 areas of the work. In prevention work, where we have many, many projects for the empowerment, human empowerment, and economic empowerment of the most vulnerable in countries, so that they are not that they're not actually exploited, because they're actually got to focus with their families, with businesses, and they're bringing in some some wealth, which they were never able to do before. That's one big area of work that we're involved in prevention. But we're also involved at the grassroots. Some of our members are working actually on the streets at night, befriending the girls and finding out, are these girls willingly there or not? And eventually, through friendship, they're able to. It's a very dangerous situation, but we have to find ways and means, which we're doing, of enabling these girls to come secretly from that trade and rescue them into shelters. And through the back of our websites, we're able to work cross-border for rescue and reintegration, working, of course, in collaboration with the police, immigration, and with the shelters that are set up in the countries right across Europe. Some of our sisters are running these shelters through organisations like Solwadi or Different and Equal in Albania, but we're all in a big network, much wider than Renata. We are in many, many networks in our 27 countries working against trafficking. But the other area is raising awareness. So we have projects where we're raising awareness through going into schools and villages. And just recently in Albania, we had the UN gift box working with Stop the Traffic in the UK, and that toured 4 cities in Albania and raised awareness with nearly 17,000 people about trafficking. And then finally, we do a lot of campaigning and advocacy work, because the laws in countries are very muddied. They are very mixed up, and the victim is not protected. And we have a human rights approach, and we're really struggling to make laws really on the side and protect the victim.
Sister, we're going to have to bring our conversation to an end just because of time factor, I'm afraid. But just what does it mean to you to know now that you've got the backing of so many congregations around the Middlesbrough diocese?
Oh, it's wonderful. I must tell you that I worked in the Clarences for 16 years, just on the border of Tees, the Tees River. And so I have many, many friends in that part of the world. And truly, I go back every year to have my heart warmed by the beautiful people of the Northeast. And it means huge, huge amount to continue this friendship and to have that support.
Sister Imelda, good luck with the work that you're doing, the very important work that you and the charity Renata are doing. Thank you very much indeed for joining us live on the line from